Good morning, I'm Victor Boyajian. Joining me today is my friend Mark Baillie, who leads the software and SaaS investment banking practice for Stifel, to talk about cloud computing and hot trends surrounding that sector. SaaS is hot, cloud computing is hot. What are some of the big trends you're seeing in the marketplace today?
Software in general, and then specifically SaaS and cloud computing, is undergoing a shift where they're finding really what you think of as legacy business processes, basic business processes that you see in every type of business across marketing, customer relationship management, even deep in the infrastructure, and finding a way to deliver that service from the cloud. That disruptive aspect is being incredibly compelling because it's obviously driving top-line revenue growth for businesses today. And it's also causing a large pool of strategic buyers, the larger legacy software vendors, to wake up and understand the virtues of cloud computing, working from the cloud, and delivering this so conveniently with the low barriers to entry that it provides.
We, for years, have dealt with non-cloud processes, and they seem to have actually been heralded in as another wave of efficiencies. And now we're taking it to the next level through the cloud. What are those efficiencies?
Sure, I really put them into two buckets. It's the efficiencies that drive success for the client, and it's also efficiencies in terms of running a business, why they make great investment opportunities to invest in those cloud companies. In the first category, the reason why they're so efficient is frankly the degree of IT support that's necessary of driving a business process as a cloud-hosted service is one at which really requires very little involvement from a company's IT department. Think of all the time you spend getting help when something's not working right because you realize you don't have the latest version of a software installed in your machine or it's not configured correctly. A lot of the cloud-based software solutions today are really delivered via a web portal, and so the degree of customization or configuration necessary at the endpoint is very minimal, if at all. Jumping to the other category, why it's such a hot trend and topic for investable opportunities is delivering that solution as a service allows you to have a lot more leverage as a company than actually being in charge of a large services team that has to be on-premise to deploy your software correctly to make sure it's working at that endpoint correctly. And the other efficiencies you get is you're really only working from one version of that software at a time. Think about multi-tenant architecture. It's a phrase you hear a lot with cloud-based computing and software. Really what that means is you're in a data center working on one version of the software, and it's actually residing in a multi-tenant environment to which it's delivered to a diverse number of clients and endpoints at one time. So there's a huge amount of scale involved when you're working with cloud computing today. That efficiency, long-term at scale, drives great profitability for somebody delivering that cloud computing. When you compare that to, again, older software businesses that are running multiple versions or having to deploy huge amounts of professional services to customize at the endpoint, that can be an impediment to profitability for a business and then long-term have ramifications as an investment opportunity.
Which sectors have led the way in terms of adoption of cloud-based computing?
There are many people are old enough to remember the days of the ASP, which you could think of as a precursor to cloud computing today. These were software applications that were delivered in a hosted environment, often by a big infrastructure business. You saw companies like IBM have a whole ASP division really hosting that software, and then it could be like Lotus Notes and things like that. It was very much a precursor to that. But really the area when it blew up were companies such as Salesforce.com, which took a process such as customer relationship management and then disrupted Siebel's market as a whole. So when you think about who are the early movers, it would be areas such as CRM or marketing automation, where you think of a very specific business process, something you're trying to achieve that's perfectly attuned to delivering that functionality over the cloud. The laggards in the area really are areas that maybe have a higher degree of security risk, more sensitive information that's covered. Think about the storage, or in the end, think about deep in the infrastructure, serving your entire software environment for a business from the cloud remotely. All these areas over time, with the declining cost of bandwidth and better availability, we'll see move to the cloud.
So what are the big storage companies doing and thinking about to get ahead of the curve here?
You know, the great opportunity for storage businesses like that is they've realized, some materially realized, that storage infrastructures are changing dramatically as data is moving to the cloud. At the same time, there's a huge amount of data that's now being mined. People talk about big data as a factor here for new opportunities and new, call it value-added information and output to deliver back to the client. And so they're making big investments in software, both in terms of how to manage that storage, how to move that storage into the cloud, how to mine and index it correctly. And then in the end, when you think about all the data that's produced by these centralized software as a service or cloud-based applications we were talking about, the next phase of that is going back to all that data, perhaps anonymizing it, aggregating it, and then selling some of that output back to your end market. And that's something where the storage infrastructure vendors could play a key part in if they realize how to index that unstructured data correctly.
Great, Mark. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing everybody next week at the Rosewood in Silicon Valley to tease out these issues a bit more.